This is where everybody stands up and dances. All right, if you can hear my voice, come on over and join us. This is the 11 o'clock new home buyer panel. We're getting ready to crank up. Do you realize this is the 42nd Dogwood Arts Festival Home and Garden Show? And a house and garden show. I know somebody's already going, what is it? Home. House and garden show. And what incredible. If you have walked around yet, I'm sure a lot of you have. It's just incredible. This is the last day, of course. Be sure that you enjoy it. You walk around, take some pictures, share it with your friends, and we're glad you're here. This is the biggest fundraiser for the Dogwood Arts Festival every year. I've been on the Dogwood board for, well, I've been on it for so long they want me to get off of it. So that's how long. And it's a wonderful organization, and wow, Dogwood has meant a lot to the people in East Tennessee. So anyway, we're glad you're here. So we got a great panel here today. We're going to grill them and ask them questions that they never thought we were going to ask. I'd like to start with ORNL Federal Credit Union. Roy Ogle is here. ORNL is the biggest sponsor of Dogwood Arts, and we appreciate them, and they do such a great job, and such a wonderful organization, and we appreciate them. And plus, they mean a lot to the people in East Tennessee as well, so we're glad you're here. And then, from the Friendly Real Estate Company, we have from Fox and Fogarty Real Estate, we have Scott Crammond, and the guy that didn't get the message to wear the Fox and Fogarty t-shirt, shirt. Oh, it's right there. Okay, Tyler Fogarty. He actually wears that shirt today. We're glad you're here. And the beautiful Keita Howard from 7 Title, and we're glad you're here as well. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, how many people here have bought a house? Probably everybody. Maybe? You haven't? You know, the thing about the first time I ever bought a house, it scared the out of me. And you think, I don't know what to do. And back when I bought my first house, there was nobody to answer the questions. But here, we've got a great panel of people that are going to try to get you past the hurdles that you have in buying a new home. So, again, if you can hear the sound of my voice, I see people out there watching and looking. Come over and join us if you'd like. We're going to have a cocktail party afterwards, I understand. A Bloody Mary morning or something here, compliments of Fox and Fogarty, I understand. All right, so my panel here, I'd like to start with is this pre-approval. How, if somebody did not get pre-approved before they went house hunting, how much of a problem is that? How did you already screw up that bad?
Well, it can be very important. Getting pre-approved first will give you an idea of what you can afford. Make sure your credit is good to meet the situation. You just have to be sure that you're going to qualify. You don't want to get out there and find a $300,000 house that you love and find out you can only qualify for a $200,000 house. So that's a bad foot to get started.
Well, how long does it take for somebody to go through the process and get pre-approved?
Usually 15, 20 minutes. We can sit down and go through the entire application. As long as you know your personal information and your income and employment, we can get through it in 15, 20 minutes.
What do you need? Do you have to bring tax forms or something, like you're going to your accountant, or you just fill out forms, give you an idea of what you can afford? And do people often be very optimistic in what they can afford?
Yeah, actually what you need, technically nothing is required. As long as you know your income amounts, your employment, your personal information, we can get through it. As long as you have an idea how much you're going to make per hour, we can put down the numbers, get an accurate pre-approval, and get you prepared to get out there.
And then you give them a letter that shows they're pre-approved for X amount of dollars per home.
Yes, we can give you the pre-approval. You get out there and find the house in that range.
Okay, so that's the financing part of this. Gentlemen, either one of y'all can tackle this question I just laid out there. How important is pre-approval?
Yeah, Roy hit on it. The real mistake is falling in love with a house and then realizing that you can't actually afford it, or that you have to jump through a lot of hoops to be able to ultimately get to afford it. So you can waste a lot of time and a lot of energy, certainly if you're not pre-approved.
And too, I'll talk to folks, they think they're ready to buy, because I have no pre-approval, you know, going through that process, the loan officer might say, hey, what happened here in 2012?
Yeah.
And it might halt you for another 6 months to a year because something silly happened, you know, 10 years ago or something like that.
All right, let me ask you a question. I remember years ago, this is when I first bought a house. They said, well, there's VA loans. Oh, I'm not a vet, so I didn't qualify. So, but there are first-time buyer loans. There are jumbo loans in some states. There are where you can assume a loan, like veteran loans, I think are assumable. So what kind of loans are there out there that people can qualify for?
Well, there's really several different products. Generally, they can fall into categories of 100% no down payment and then your down payment loans. 100% can be USDA rural development, THDA, VA, as you mentioned. Generally, those loans have credit score restrictions, income restrictions, and sometimes property restrictions. Down payment loans, if you have a little bit of down payment, you can go FHA, conventional Fannie Mae, like ORNL can provide. But really just whatever situation meets best your needs.
So, how often do you have somebody that comes in and they don't know anything about loans, but they don't know how much money cash they need to put down? What is, if you're going to buy a home, what do I really need to save in order to buy that home? What kind of percentage should I have toward the house? Let's say I'm trying to buy a $150,000 house. How much should I have saved up to even go into that? But you even said 100%.
Yeah.
Loan is available.
A lot of times people still think they need 20%, and that's not the case. I mean, conventional can do 95, so only 5% down. In certain cases, you can do a conventional as little as 3% down.
FHA, 3.5% down.
FHA 3.5.
And then when it comes to saving, a lot of times, especially when I'm meeting someone who's just thinking about buying, I'll tell them, you know, the 20% is a myth, and you can buy a house with 3% down, 3.5%, 5% down. But I also tell people, like, you should probably have about $1,000 to $3,000 on top of that to save up, because, you know, that first year of home ownership, you don't know if the roof that is on the house, you might need to budget for that repair. You don't know if toilets are going to break within the first 6 months. You just don't know. So I do tell people, give yourself a little buffer, because you can't predict the future.
Don't worry, Pete, I'm going to get there.
I like the way it's going.
Yeah, she's the one at the very end. You won't get the house unless you get through her. I promise you that. All right, when you, okay, you got pre-approved. Now I need to find a house. How do I find a real estate agent? Do I listen to the radio all day and hear an ad? Do I watch TV? Do I talk to all my friends? Do I go to church and talk to some of those friends? How do you find a real estate agent, and how do you find one that maybe matches up to what kind of buyer you are?
Yeah, my favorite way of really finding any major service like that is talking to your network. Talk to people that you know, that you love, that have bought a house recently or sold a house, and ask them who did a good job for you. Get 1 or 2 agents, maybe 3 agents, and there's a ton of online resources. Certainly check out their online presence, their social media, check out the reviews. Zillow is a great place to read reviews, Google as well, of course Facebook page. And then talk to 1 or 2 agents and see who you vibe with and who you think is really going to work for you.
Yeah, I mean, ditto. If you're having beers with your friends or having coffee or sitting there at work and you bring up home buying, I'm sure there's 5 people you know that had an awesome real estate agent or had a really bad one. You know, you never know, but ask the people around you. Same thing when you go, man, I'm looking for a new dentist. What's the first thing you do? You probably ask someone you know to go, hey, who's your dentist? You like him?
I bet you, Keita, you've seen a lot of real estate agents come through with a lot of people, and they're at the end, and you're trying to put it together. Do you see them sometimes where maybe this agent wasn't perfect for that client, though? How do you think you find the best real estate agent?
Well, just to mimic what Scott and Tyler just said, you know, networking, talking to people who've gone through the process, and even if your loan officer, like Roy, you know, can also, he's got good relationships with people that he's worked with, can be a good source of like a referral. So.
What about expectations if you're trying to buy a home? You're probably not going to see 100 houses. Or you're hoping not to show them.
Correct.
It
So
has
how
happened.
important is it to find out exactly what the client wants so that you show them the correct houses?
Yeah, the interview process is a big deal when an agent is first talking to a buyer, and it's asking the right questions, and it's really teasing out what are their expectations, what parts of town do they want to live in, what kind of house are they looking at, and then you're kind of matching that up with what's really available out there. And then from there, you're kind of narrowing it down. And the first time you go out, you may be casting a big net. You may be looking at 8 or 10 houses that are kind of spread out in different areas or different price ranges. But usually that first time out, you then narrow it down to this is our favorite neighborhood, this is our favorite part of town, or this price range really seems like it works for us.
So it's probably different for different age people. Somebody that's got kids, school may be the number one thing they're looking for, right?
Correct.
Whereas a senior may be looking at the most affordable area or something convenient to medical services or things that they may need. So I guess that interview process is extremely important.
Yeah, so especially during this interview process or this buyer's consult, I really try and figure out, why are you buying it? Where are your values lying? Do you want to be closer to work? And if you work in Oak Ridge, you really don't care about buying a house in downtown Knoxville. Are you trying to grow your family in the next 5 years? That 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in South Knoxville probably won't work if you plan on having kids.
Yeah.
So I really try and find out what are your values and why are you buying? Because that's going to dictate a whole bunch. Size of the home, location, are schools important? Or maybe you want to be downtown. You want a bike ride so you can hit the breweries every Friday night. Who knows? It's just figuring out why someone wants to buy their first home or last home.
So when you are buying a home or you're finding a real estate agent and you're meeting with them and you've not really had a lot of real estate agents you've ever dealt with, how obligated am I to a real estate agent and for how long? What's the normal term? That if you're going to do a lot of work for them hoping that you may make money with the house, they buy a house or find a house. What kind of obligation do they have? What do you have time-wise and so forth?
So, if you decide to work with me, really there is, on the front half, no obligation, right? Someone might come to me and say, I'm looking to buy my first house. My lease ends in March. So I have about 3 or 4 months, knowing that, shoot, if we don't find one, I gotta re-sign that lease or I'll be homeless. And that happens all the time. So there's really no obligation. Yes, it might be a little frustrating for both parties, but at the front half, there's no obligation to us at all. If you run out of time, or if you have a dramatic shift in your job and you have to move, and you don't end up buying the house, we may have wasted a little time. That's fine. It happens. Definitely.
Yeah, we typically don't make our buyers sign an actual buyer's rep agreement unless we're writing an offer on a house. So the interview process, the education, we're going out searching for homes. We are making sure that we work well together, that we want to end up doing a transaction together, and then once we really have invested our time and we're writing an offer on something, then we'll typically ask you to enter an agreement with us.
Okay, and any of you can answer this question. It's several questions. First of all, what is a buyer's market and what is a seller's market by definition? Or by your definition?
Yeah, so a seller's market is typically low inventory, so there's not many homes for sale. Prices have been rising, and there's a ton of demand, so there's a ton of buyers on the market. So the sellers really have an advantage. They can kind of call their shots, and when you're negotiating with the seller, they have the advantage. There's a ton of buyers looking to buy their house. It's the opposite in a buyer's market where there are not many buyers. It's usually when it's a down economy or people are scared of their jobs. There's a ton of homes that are available for sale. There's only a few buyers out there. And so homes sit on the market a lot longer and buyers can take their time looking for homes.
So what are we right here in Knoxville right now?
Strong seller's market.
So inventory is low.
Extremely low.
And how, if you're looking for a home, does that make you panic? Do you start making offers that are over the price? Do you write letters to the person you may be trying to buy that home from and say, we really want to live here? Well, what gives you the edge?
So I try and be extremely dynamic, especially with folks who maybe we've been looking for 3 months and they keep missing out on houses. You gotta act with it, honestly. If it's that awesome house that they've missed 4 times, if I see it hit the market, or if they're on Zillow at 3 a.m. and they see it hit the market, we got to see it as soon as we can. We have awesome coworkers where, I don't know, I got an appointment, I can't do it. I lean on so we can see that house quickly. And then sometimes if you really think you're going to miss that house, you may have to offer a little bit. That's not the norm unless we get into a multiple offer situation. I usually tell people, go ahead and offer $5,000 over asking price, unless there's some other external pressures. And then outside of that, I've definitely had clients write letters to homeowners, and I've had sellers get a letter and go, they just told me about their cute dog, and I want to sell them this house because they got a little dog.
Can a seller sell their house to anybody regardless of the multiple offers, which one's higher or lower?
Correct. Seller can accept whatever offer they want to accept at the end of the day. And they have, the other side is they have no obligation to accept any offer if they don't want to.
But if somebody bid, if I bid more than Roy here and he gets the house, I'm gonna wonder why you didn't like it, right? But you can do that legitimately. That's not a
Correct. You never know. I mean, maybe one of those offers is from Troy Smith, and that seller went, "Is that Stan Smith's son? I hate Stan. This guy's not buying my house." It can happen.
You have a question? Go ahead.
I do, thank you. When you talk about making an offer, if I wanted to go and have my own appraisal done, how much does it normally cost for an appraisal?
How much is an appraisal and who does it? How you get it done?
Yeah, interesting question. Actually, the appraisal has to be ordered through a third-party vendor. The lender will place the order, but we also have to use an independent third-party company who is not to just round off into a local appraiser. Okay. No longer can we be involved in the situation of who can order that. Generally, the price, if it's for a standard house in Knox County, the standard being not 10,000 square feet, not sitting on 50 acres, about $475.
I'm sorry. Use the mic. Oh, she didn't have it. What's the question? Buyer pays for it?
Yes. Well, what ORNL does is we will generally, that's part of the cost, and we will move that money first into an ORNL appraisal account. And once the appraiser goes out there and sends us the invoice, we pay that on your behalf.
Now, can that money come out of an escrow account or no?
Like escrow title or?
Well, there's no escrow yet, right?
Right.
So,
So you have to pay for it up front, you
Right.
don't pay for it.
Right, not at the end.
Typically, so with home inspections and appraisals, the buyer usually has to pay for those kind of as they happen. And usually the appraisal is so close to closing that when you pay for it, it's usually part of your closing costs. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that was always the case, but we just had at one point a bunch of appraisers and home inspectors not getting paid because the deal fell apart. So that's why you usually pay up front, not out.
Thank you.
thank you. If you have any questions, put your hand up and she'll come to you. So I made my offer now. I found my house. I've been pre-approved. We've gotten together. You're my real estate agent because you're so friendly. And we've made an offer on a house. It's the perfect house. Should I expect them to accept my offer, or do they always come back with a counter?
Yeah, most likely you're expecting a counteroffer. They absolutely can accept it. It depends on the situation that happens. Or they could certainly reject it and just give you no response at all. But as a general rule, what you're expecting is some counteroffer. They're changing the price, or they're countering on the closing date, countering on the closing cost, some aspect of the offer. They're usually trying to change it.
Do you, I've always heard the thing, if you make an offer and somebody comes back and accepts your offer, you immediately feel like you paid too much.
Yes, it's called buyer's remorse. It happens a lot.
Whereas I should have negotiated more. So
I had that conversation last night.
that's what I'm saying. Buyer's remorse. We should just touch on it because it's not like buying. Well, you said you bought a car, okay? And she's still trying to figure out how to drive it. But we're not talking about a $30,000 purchase. We're maybe talking about a $200,000 purchase. Maybe the biggest thing you've ever bought in your life, and you're thinking, you got to make a decision right now, and you're going, So how do you get that client to make a decision? You personally know that this may be gone in a couple hours.
So one thing I'll tell folks, you can't really live with regret. I mean, maybe that's an overarching philosophy. After you buy your house, you're probably going to still be looking at Zillow. Man, I can't believe it. This one wasn't for sale when we were looking, or this one wasn't for sale when we were looking. And then when it comes to offers, I mean, especially if a buyer wants to, they love the house, but they want to maybe play a little hardball. I'll ask them, if you do this and you don't get the house, how much more upset will you be? Is it worth not offering them $5,000 more than asking and having $30 or $40 more in your mortgage? Or is it worth missing out? And if they really love the house, most people are going to go, okay, maybe I'll be a little more competitive with my offer. That being said, if they want to offer 50 grand lower on their dream home, we're obligated also to do what they want to do. So
This sounds like a waste of time.
And the beauty of it also is once an offer is accepted, we typically build in about a 2-week inspection period. That gives people 2 weeks to really ultimately make sure that they are happy with that house.
So, that's just it. You could probably find anything in an inspection you finally can back out with. I know a lot of people don't ever say that, I guess. But that's probably true. I mean, if I'm going to do an inspection over 2 weeks or 30 days, there's probably a way for me to back out if I had to.
correct. There's a legal contingency within the contract. If you have an inspection period, you can back out due to inspection. Typically it's because something comes up in the inspection report that you just say, a buyer will go, nope, no thank you, that is way too much, I don't even want to deal with it. Sometimes you go to look at the house with mom and dad and you find a teaspoon of water in the basement and they scare you out of buying the house.
So I've made an offer my house that's been accepted, and I've done my inspection. Where do I get this inspector? Do I go to Roy? Do I go to Takeda here? Who do I go to? Where do I find him?
You don't come to us.
How do I find an inspector to inspect the house? And how do I choose one?
There's a lot of great home inspectors out there. We have a handful that we recommend that we've been using for years. So really consult. I would tell you to consult with a real estate agent, people you know that know other people that have done a really good job, similar to how you pick an agent.
Yeah, we recommend Rockstar Home Inspectors, and it's not because of any sort of kickbacks or anything. They've just literally done hundreds to thousands of home inspections for us and our clients,
Yeah.
and they do great work.
And how long does that take when they go and inspect? Is it a day, 2 days?
It's usually a half a day for a true home inspection to be done. And then sometimes things can be discovered in the home inspection that you want to do additional inspections on. There's a problem with the HVAC, so you want to schedule an HVAC tech to come out. There's a problem with the roof. We want to have a roofer come out and actually inspect. So it can certainly take more than just that day.
So it could be something in inspection tells you I need to have an expert come in to look at this particular problem.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And who pays for all that?
Buyer.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Buyer's
buyer
paying
will
all that.
pay for the inspection. That being said, most contractors do quotes and consultations for free. If you call a plumber, a lot of times you can send them the pictures and they'll say, oh yeah, that's a $500 problem or something like that.
Okay, my inspection finds a little problem, but I agree, I want to take care of it, but I want the price lower. Is that often the case?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Everything's negotiable there?
After the inspection period, we then go into a technical called the resolution period. It's almost like a second wave of negotiations. So we've done the home inspection. We found out that the plumbing is 800 years old and the roof is shot. So then we consult with those folks, and then we have another wave of negotiations where you can ask them to make some of the repairs that came up in the inspection, or really, there's the other tactic is to, if there's $20,000 worth of foundation work, you might want to we'll try to reduce that price to compensate you for making those repairs in the future.
So can they just, which is a weird way, can they say, instead of reducing the price, I'm going to have it fixed? And then they have it fixed, they have to have it fixed within that 30 days, or?
Correct. Any repairs negotiated for, they need to be finished before the house closes. So if they say they're going to fix the leaky sink, when we show up to the house during our final inspection about a day or two before closing, that leaky sink needs to be fixed if we're not closing.
Okay, and that was what I was going to ask. You do a final inspection where after you sign, agree to buy the house, you've done the inspection, before you close, you get to do a final inspection. Who goes with you to do that? Who do you take with you? real estate agent? You take the inspector to go
So
over things? Or
most
what?
home inspectors will do a final walkthrough with you for a small extra fee, or the real estate agent will be with you on the final walkthrough. And part of also approving inspections is we're also soliciting all the receipts and all the warranties from anybody that did work. So we get actual proof that the work was done as well.
So yeah, we'll go in the house. I usually go in the house with the client. We have the list of repairs they were supposed to make, and we'll poke our head in the crawl space and go, well, they sent us a picture, and I guess that looks like some new PVC pipe, and we have the receipt. Awesome. We'll go to that leaky sink, turn the water on, open. Okay, that's fixed. And just walk on down the list and make sure that they did all the things they're obligated to. And also didn't, take the chandelier or bust a hole in the wall or, make a bunch of crap in the basement.
So if a seller, though, says, I'm not fixing that, you can choose to back out of the deal, or you may say, we'll move on. It's not something I'm going to lose. I'm not going to kill the deal over it. I mean, is that often happen?
Yeah, so the inspection period is kind of like another round of negotiation. So the buyer is welcome to ask for whatever repairs they want to. The seller has no obligation to say yes. They can also say yes to everything, or they can say, hey, we'll fix items A, B, and C, but we're not going to fix D and E. So there is a little bit of a back and forth there. At the end of the day, if the buyer is not happy with the resolution that the seller finally comes to, the buyer does have the right to back out.
And vice versa, if the seller goes, wow, this buyer is just being unreasonable, at that point the seller has the right to walk away as well.
And every house have little problems, Roy.
I was going to say, about the repairs could actually affect the lender situation or the title company situation. So the buyer needs to be aware of what can be okay to leave needing to be fixed and still close, and what has to be fixed.
So what are the big red flags? What you got to really worry about is not getting kicked over the leaky sink, that he was talking about.
Moisture, water intrusion, that's probably the biggest thing. Happening over time, a leak that just happened yesterday, that's pretty easy to fix, but if you have a roof that's been leaking into the attic, you've got a pipe that's been leaking into the crawl space, or gutters that have been discharging into the foundation, that over time, that sort of stuff causes mildew and mold issues, it destroys all construction materials basically, and then also you can have all sorts of pest problems.
I always tell folks, if water made the Grand Canyon, your house doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Now, if you're just joining us, I know some people walked up in the back especially. This is our new home buyer panel. We've got Roy Ogle with ORNL Federal Credit Union there, Fox and Fogarty Real Estate in the middle here with Tyler Fogarty and Scott Crammon, and 7 title is Keita Howard. She thinks she's skating, but now I'm getting ready to ask her some questions. So, I've always heard this thing about I need to have a survey done, and then I've heard recently people are not doing surveys as much. I thought that was something you had to have. Keita, you want to jump in there?
I'll speak a little bit to that. So by the time the title work is done, we do our title search. We have an attorney who looks through all of the information that has come through on the search. Surveys aren't cheap, so usually, he'll err on the side of, making sure it's a legitimate reason to request a survey in the first place. And usually, the biggest reason is there's not a good legal description for the piece of property that we're going to take in our transaction. So he'll compare like the sales contract, look at the information on there as far as the address, and then they go through the whole process of looking at the chain of title. And if he can't determine with full confidence that what we have before us is legitimate, then he will request a survey.
What the heck is a title search?
So,
What are you looking for?
So we're looking for anything that may have been an issue, like in the chain of title. So sometimes when I say title, if you're not familiar with that, it's not a car title. We're talking about the actual, like the deed to the property. So our attorney will look, or what's called a title abstractor. And these are people that actually go to the courthouse, look at every single document that's ever been recorded with the Register of Deeds office, and they find stuff. That's what they do. They're actually looking for errors, or looking for, to make sure that whomever this new buyer is going to have clear title to the property. So there can't be any old liens from previous owners that are outstanding, or anything that may, need a correction. Like some deeds are done wrong. Title companies and law firms make mistakes. So what a title abstractor or an attorney is doing is trying to make sure that all the T's were crossed and all the I's were dotted before we go into our transaction, so that the buyer has clear title to their home.
So let's say you're searching a title and you find that the previous owner, his wife, had a crown done 10 years before, and she didn't pay for it, and because she didn't like the dentist, and she got in an argument, and they sued her. She got lost, a judgment against her. Is that something you go, hey, wait a minute, this could hold up the sale of the house, or is that not? That's not what you're looking for. What?
So absolutely, anything that could potentially attach to the property. So one misconception is if, let's say, someone owned a house, and just like with your example, the dentist sues this individual. Well, that judgment attaches to the person, and any assets they have, especially real property, attaches to that real property. So it has to be addressed. In a lot of cases, what we can do is before closing, if we can get with the individual, if it is our seller that has this issue, we can go ahead and have them make an arrangement with the attorney's office that did file suit, and they can go ahead and pay that cost if they're the seller out of their net sales proceeds. And therefore, we can still go ahead and close.
You can still go ahead and close. I've actually heard, I actually lived through this. I was buying a house one time, and they said I can't close because I had a parking ticket that had not been paid. Now, that doesn't happen in Knox County, I don't think. But it did happen where I live. I had to go pay a $45 parking ticket before I could close on my house, which was nuts. But counties and cities, they can do things that have liens or things that are taxes and other things, and that's probably more of what you're looking for. See,
Right.
taxes are owed, things like that. Is that correct?
Yep, so it's usually, it's not like a collection debt. We're not looking at that because that's not anything that's going to be recorded in the Register of Deeds office. Now, Roy, on the other hand, when he goes to pull credit and things, if there are collections and that to be dealt with, then he deals with that. What we're looking for is where somebody has actually filed suit, like a judgment lien. Anytime the word lien is involved, that's what we're looking for, a tax lien. So that's where we come in and say this has to absolutely be fixed before we close.
Okay, and so now you've looked through the property, you've had sent the people to the courthouse, there's nothing lien on this property, and you say it's clear title, and do you insure that? You give them an insurance policy saying if anything comes back, this new buyer doesn't have to worry about it?
Yeah, so it's kind of a two-part thing. So there's what's called lender's title insurance, and anytime when you get ready to close, you're going to see lender's title insurance on that closing disclosure. That is simply just to protect the lender. So what that does for the lender is in the event of foreclosure, the lender is protected for anything that may have come up in the chain of title that was missed by, the closing agency, or in some cases the law firm. But then you also have what's called a title owner's policy, and that's separate. That's what actually protects the buyer for the home for anything that wasn't detected in our search, such as liens against prior owners or anything like that. So the one thing that I will say as far as a title insurance policy goes, at closing, it can be paid at closing. It should be part of your closing costs. But the premium is really low as opposed to someone maybe coming and filing suit against you saying, my great-great-grandfather owned that property and I don't know what set of title did, but they didn't catch it in the deed and I'm going to sue you for my $150,000 worth of equity in that property. If you don't have a title owner's policy, you're looking to go have to have your own attorney and fight this in court. Whereas if you have an owner's policy, the title underwriter will just file a claim, just like you would with any insurance, and they will handle that for you.
Who pays for the title search?
The home buyer. So the search is included in the fee structure. So the home buyer's paying that when they close.
Okay, so you're doing this title search for me because I'm buying this new home. How long does that take?
My boss would say it should only take like 2 hours, but
He's sitting out there.
yeah. But in reality, it really just depends. I mean, there are a lot of things technology has helped us with. So typically, it takes about 48 hours to 72 business hours.
That fast. Okay.
Yeah,
It's not like it's 2 weeks that you gotta wait for that.
The one thing that will throw that off a little bit is what county it's in. If somebody has to go, I hope nobody lives in Hawkins County, but I'm just going to throw that out there. If it's a county where somebody's got to drive, to go and sit down and look through books and records, and it's not anything that they can find online, then that's usually where that's going to make some time.
Okay, do we come to your office to close?
Absolutely.
We all sit down around the table? Who do I bring with me?
So your agent's going to come, and Roy will come. The lender usually, it just depends on what type of transaction. But usually in a purchase transaction, especially for a first-time home buyer, your lender's going to be there. We'll be there as a title company. We actually execute the closing. We sit down and go through 200 documents and make sure you sign them all. But your realtor, and that's it.
Will the seller be there as well?
The seller will absolutely be there.
Okay.
Kind of depends.
Yeah,
If
sometimes
you have a nasty
maybe
sometimes we want to put you in separate rooms.
Yeah.
If it's an out-of-town seller,
Yeah,
they may be
so
doing something out of town soon too, I guess.
Right. So we have a lot of people. Believe it or not, the seller is not local. So we do what we call a mail away. So that makes us all have to work like a week in advance to get the seller everything he needs document-wise, so that everything's back to us, the deed, by the time we do our closing.
Okay, so how long does that whole process take when we're in your office?
Usually we allot an hour. We get through in about an hour.
If you ask a lot of questions, it might be an hour and a half.
And if you read all the documents, it might be 3 hours.
And then you hand me the keys, or who hands those keys to?
Usually the agents will bring the keys to the closing.
Yeah, so typically in like most of our closings, I'll show up with my client who's buying the house. It takes them about 45 minutes to sign all the documents. A lot of them pertain to the loan and are personal. So the seller doesn't need to be there. But typically in the last 20, 30 minutes, the seller will show up. Hopefully the buyer's finishing up all their paperwork. They chat, hey, look out, you got to kind of jiggle the door handle a little bit, basement door. And at that moment, after the deed of trust is signed and everything's signed, there's the ceremonial passing of the keys.
Taking them pictures. Well, if you're a first-time home buyer, this is a scary time.
Yeah.
So you want to feel like you trust the people that you're working with. All of you are, I'm sure you take it very seriously. For a first-time home buyer, you're there to really walk them through the process and make sure they do feel secure and comfortable. And that this is not, you just ruined your entire life. You just started a great part of your life by owning a home. So, with the moments I've got left, I want to start here with Roy. Let's say there's first-time home buyers out here, Roy. What's the best advice you can give them in 2 minutes?
In 2 minutes.
Watch out, I may cut you to a minute and a half.
Okay. Well, the best advice I can give you is really do your homework, be well prepared, be comfortable with your lender. Hopefully the lender, if it's ORNL, we went through some different scenarios, kind of got you prepared from top to bottom of your purchase price. And then basically it's a team effort. I mean, you want to be comfortable through every part of the process. Hopefully the realtor and the lender have got together as you're going out looking for homes, and we kind of talked about what may work, what may not work, what you kind of, my application process, it can be quick, or it can be as long as you want it to be. We'll talk about a bunch of different scenarios, and basically a lot of situations. And I may pick up something that they didn't necessarily know, and that might help you get to the finish line, which is the house. And that's what we all do. So it's really just be comfortable, know your price range, be prepared, and when you do find it, right now with the seller's market, be ready to move.
Scott, how about you?
Just trust the people you decide to work with. If that's ORNL because you've been banking with them for years, go for it. Trust them. Make sure that they're going to get you to the finish line. When it comes to a realtor, make sure, ask us 1,000 questions. Make sure we know our stuff and we're going to get you to the finish line. If you ask me a question I don't know the answer to, and say I'll figure it out, I may not know it, but now I'm learning something new. But yeah, just trust the folks that you choose, I guess, to work, because it's all a choice. You do have the right to ask a friend which lender they use. You have the right to ask your friends what realtor they use. And if your friend recommends someone, it's not quite a culture fit, or you just think this lady's a bonehead, and they won't get you there, you have the right to get some more recommendations. Just trust the folks you decide to work with.
Tom, a little advice?
Yeah, so I'll just echo what Scott said. There is so much information out there about how to buy a house, how to write offers on houses, how to go through inspections, all the different loan information, all the title issues that can come up. You really need trusted professionals that can actually walk you through those things and cut through everything and distill the information down to what's actually important, what you need to focus on, which really is just walking through homes and finding the right one that really works for you and your family and saying, hey, this is the one I want to buy. And all the other stuff, trust your people to help walk you through that.
Keita, you get the last few words here.
Well, they've already said everything that I would have said, but the only thing I'll add to that is if you're a first-time home buyer, be excited. That's it's a great time. So by the time you get to us, if you're not excited, that's a little bit of an issue. So be excited, be ready to sign, and do research. Like I said, the title owner's policy is something that if you don't even know what that is, go research it. It's going to help you in the long run for pennies on the dollar if anything were to come up. But like I said, just be excited about it and trust the people that have been put forward, before you to
I think at your table you had beer, mimosas, white wine.
I never saw that.
Yeah. She didn't partake, but it was still 9:30 in the morning, and we've had mimosas on a Tuesday during the closing table. So.
You should be excited when you bought a new home. I agree. So listen, I want to thank Roy Ogle with the ORNL Federal Credit Union, Scott Crammon, and Tyler Fogarty with Fox and Fogarty Real Estate, friendly real estate company, and Keita Howard with Seven Title for joining us here and helping us answer some questions. And from what I understand, they're going to host a little morning Bloody Mary thing here. You're welcome to join us, and they'll answer more questions if you just want to talk with them one-on-one. But thanks for joining us here today on the how-to stage at Discovery. We have what?
Yeah, one more thing. We were giving away a $100 gift card, and the last name that won that was Smith. So I think it's right here. So $100 gift card.
All right, thank you for joining us, and we'll be right out there. So stay around.
Thank you, Bob.